I hate throwing food away that's gone bad because not only is it just like such a waste of food, but it's also a complete waste of money. And especially right now where grocery prices are so high, making sure that you can actually make use of all your food and that it doesn't go bad before you can eat it is so crucial, because otherwise you're literally just throwing away money. So today I'm gonna share with you guys 10 different things that I do that are really sneaky little hacks so that you aren't just throwing away food that's gone bad, but you can actually make sure you're saving it for later and making the most out of your money. My name's Autumn. I'm a certified clinical nutritionist with my master's nutrition human performance. Now this first one is a really cool tip that my mom actually taught me, and it's to freeze leftover tomato paste. So tomato paste usually comes in like these little cans, and unless you're making a huge meal, most people aren't using all of it. So what you can do is freeze it into little 1 tablespoon servings. And that way you can have this in the freezer, it's not going to go bad, and you can just take it out and just dump it into whatever recipe you're using and then stick the rest back in. Okay, this next tip makes the most out of your expensive produce, and it's to roast your broccoli stalks. Most people just like cut off the stalks and then throw it away, especially if they're doing something like, there's basil leaf on there, especially if you're doing something like roasting the broccoli, but you can actually use these broccoli stalks as part of your meal. So what I do is I peel off the outer layer with a potato peeler, and then I just dice it up and roast it with broccoli the same I would any other vegetable. It tastes great, and it's a really amazing way to use up something that you otherwise would just throw away, and you pay for broccoli by the pound, so you want to make sure you're getting the most bang for your buck. Okay, this next tip makes sure that you not only don't waste food, but that you also save money. So you can usually buy bulk chicken or bulk meats in general at places like Costco or Whole Foods. You'll find them in these like really long packages or containers like this. They tend to be less expensive per pound, but the downside is you can't just like stick this whole thing in your freezer, especially if you're only cooking for a few people in your household, because then when you go to use it, you have to thaw out the whole thing, and you probably are going to end up wasting some of the protein and having to throw it away. So this is something I used to do a lot in college. I would get those huge strips of bulk chicken at Whole Foods, and instead of just freezing the whole thing, I would take each chicken breast out or chicken thigh out, give it a quick rinse, pat dry it, and then stick it into individual bags. Now you can use reusable bags, you can use plastic bags, whatever you're more comfortable with, but this way you're thawing out only what you need and you're not thawing out the whole thing of bulk chicken. Okay, for this next tip, you probably didn't know this, but when you have like carrot greens, or if you buy beets and they still have the greens on top, or same thing with radishes, if you don't cut those off before you store them, it actually makes your food go bad faster even in the fridge. And that's because the greens, these soft greens, they go bad faster than the actual root veggie itself. Root veggies itself, like beets, carrots, radishes, they tend to actually take a long time to go bad. So they're really great options to have in the fridge. So what you want to do is make sure that when you get veggies that have these soft greens on top, you cut them off. You can just rip them off like this before then storing them in the fridge. And you could actually even eat these greens, especially carrot greens or beet greens, or what I personally do is I give them to my chickens because they absolutely go crazy for carrot greens. Okay, this next tip is to organize your fridge or your pantry from newest to oldest things. This might seem like something obvious, but it makes a big difference, because especially if there's foods that you buy a lot of or that you make a lot of, like I make a lot of Greek yogurt, it's easy to grab the newer items and forget that you had like older items in the back, and then those go bad and it just wastes money. Especially with like dairy products, Greek yogurt, I store my oldest items in the front and then put the newer items behind it in the order that I bought it. So it'll be like in the back is my very newest like Greek yogurt, and in the front will be my oldest. That way I make sure to use everything up before it goes bad. Okay, this next tip is something that I do all the time, and it's to use frozen fruit, not fresh. Like I rarely buy fresh fruit anymore. Nutritionally, they're the exact same, but not only is it a lot less expensive to buy frozen fruit, it also takes a lot longer to go bad. Fresh fruit notoriously goes bad so fast, and there's so many different ways to use frozen fruit to really revive it. Obviously, I love smoothies, and that's a really easy way to use frozen fruit, but something I'm a big fan of is sauteing up frozen blueberries in vanilla ghee and putting that on my like Greek yogurt bowls or grain-free oatmeal bowls. In my opinion, it actually tastes even better than fresh fruit. Okay, this next tip is to make sure that you store fresh avocado in the fridge. Avocado is notorious for like being perfectly fine 1 minute and then the next minute not being edible. So when you stick avocado in the fridge, it really helps to extend how long it's going to taste good and how long before it actually goes bad. Plus, another useful avocado tip, just before it's about to go bad, or like if it's really ripe and you're not ready to use it, you can actually cut it up and stick it in the freezer. And then you can just use those frozen avocado pieces in your smoothie, or you could even thaw it and just use it on a meal the way you regularly would. Now, on that freezer note, the next tip is to immediately freeze something right before it's about to go bad. And this can be pretty much anything. Like I do this with my homemade black beans. If I make a big batch of it and I know I'm not gonna use it all, I'll just freeze the extra in individual servings so that I have it for future use. Or same thing with chickpeas, or if I do buy fresh fruit and I have extra, I'll just freeze it. Obviously, this helps extend the shelf life, but it also makes sure that you have just food that you can eat pretty much at any time because your freezer is fully stocked. Which, speaking of stock, this next tip is kind of a twofer because I think a lot of people at this point know that you can save your leftover bones and make bone broth out of it. Like if you're having a full rotisserie chicken or if you cooked a full chicken, you can save those over the week and then just boil them with some onions and some carrots and some seasonings and make your own homemade beef broth or chicken broth that's really nutritious and doesn't cost you pretty much anything because you're just using leftovers that you would have tossed anyway. I'm actually cooking that right now. That's like what the little pot is back there. And it's also why the house smells so good. It smells like chicken soup right now. Oh my gosh. But you want to make sure that you're getting every last bit of bone broth, whether you're making yourself or if you're buying it, because it is such a nutritious food that you can add to anything, and it's really packed with collagen to help with satiety, so you don't want to waste bone broth. But it's one of those that can go bad within a couple days once you open it or once you're done cooking it. So again, another thing that my mom taught me is to freeze 1 cup serving sizes of bone broth. So you can do this in resealable bags, in plastic bags. So for example, I have Kettle and Fire that I use a lot of if I'm not making my own bone broth, but a lot of recipes only call for like 1 or 2 cups of bone broth, and usually there's about 4 cups of bone broth in like one of those bigger containers or 2 cups in a smaller one. So I don't want to waste it, so I'll just pour the extra in 1 cup serving amounts into bags and just freeze them. I make sure to freeze them laying flat, so I'll put it on like a cookie sheet once I've actually poured it in and sealed the bag. And now I just have these really handy individual servings of bone broth that are always in the freezer and can add nutrition to any meal. Okay, this last tip is to stock your fridge with fermented foods. Fermented foods like Greek yogurt or like sauerkraut take a really long time to go bad because they actually have the benefit of already having bacteria in them. When you already have that good bacteria in like Greek yogurt or in sauerkraut, it helps to crowd out the bad bacteria and make it so it won't go bad as quickly. Plus, you get such a great dose of probiotics by using things like sauerkraut and homemade Greek yogurt, or even just regular yogurt you buy at the grocery store. So it's nutritious. It's something that you can just stock your fridge with and know that it's going to be in there for a while and that you don't have to restock it and that you can always make meals out of it and that it won't go bad quickly so you don't have to toss it. But a lot of fermented foods can be kind of expensive, like Greek yogurt and sauerkraut. Sauerkraut is surprisingly really expensive. I ran out of my homemade one, so I had to buy this the other day, which broke my wallet heart because it is really expensive, but it's so easy to make. Same thing with Greek yogurt. I save about $500 a year by making my own homemade Greek yogurt that's even higher quality than the grocery stores, and it is so easy to make. Like even if you don't cook, this is one of the easiest things that you could make. So if you're looking to save some money and you want to make your own homemade Greek yogurt, make sure you check out this video next. It's my full recipe, very, very easy. Also, if you're new to my channel and you love this science-backed information, make sure you subscribe right here. Come out with new videos every Tuesday and Thursday. All right guys, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in my next video.